This is the only submarine in the entire war sunk by its own toilet. Watch it happen. That is the sound of the ocean coming back up the pipe. In a few minutes, this brand new submarine will be on the surface, under attack, and finished. It never sank a single enemy ship. It was undone by its bathroom. And I promise you, every part of this is real. Meet U-1206, a German Type 7C U-boat. The keel was laid in the summer of 1943 in Danzig. She was commissioned in March 1944, a real warship built to hunt Allied convoys in the North Atlantic. By July 1944, she had a new commander, Kapitanleutnant Karl-Adolf Schlitt, 27 years old. Yes, that was really his name. We will come back to it. Now here is the thing about U-1206. Before the trip you are about to watch, she had done nothing, and I mean that as a statistic. 0 ships sunk, 0 ships damaged, ever. In her entire existence, the only thing this submarine would ever defeat was itself. Hold that number in your head. It matters later. And notice the date. It is now April 1945. The war in Europe has about a month left. Germany is losing on every front. On the 6th of April, U-1206 leaves on her first war patrol, roughly 50 men aboard. Their mission is to find Allied ships in the North Sea and finally sink something. Imagine being one of those men. The war is basically over, everyone knows it, and you are being sent out to sea in a metal tube to try to win a fight that is already lost. They will never fire a meaningful shot, because the most dangerous thing on this submarine was not a torpedo. It was not a British destroyer. It was down the hall, behind a little door. Every submarine has a problem nobody likes to talk about. What do you do with the toilet when you are deep underwater? Down deep, the sea outside is pushing in with enormous pressure. Older boats had a simple fix. You used the toilet near the surface, or you stored the waste in tanks and dumped it later. Not glamorous, but it worked. Germany, being Germany, decided this was unacceptable, so they built a better toilet. A new high-pressure system that could flush your business straight out into the ocean, against all that pressure, even while running deep. On paper, brilliant. Now the crew may relieve themselves at any depth. Efficiency. There was one small catch. To flush it correctly, you had to open and close a series of valves in exactly the right order. Get the sequence wrong, and you are not flushing outward anymore. It was so complicated, the German Navy trained dedicated specialists just to operate it. Let that sink in. This submarine had toilet technicians, men whose actual job, in the middle of a world war, was to know how the toilet worked. There are ordinary sailors who did not get that much training. You are now certified. Do not touch it without me. So the plan was simple. Never let anyone use this thing without an expert nearby. On a submarine with 50 men and one very fancy toilet, what could possibly go wrong? April 14th, 1945. U-1206 is submerged about 200 feet down off the northeast coast of Scotland, near a town called Peterhead. 200 feet down means the sea outside is pressing on that toilet with the weight of several atmospheres. This is the exact worst moment to make a mistake. And someone makes a mistake. We do not actually know who. The record just calls him a crewman. History did not save his name, which, honestly, is probably a mercy. Remember, this is a system with a strict order of operations. Open this, then close that, then this. It is a small exam, taken 200 feet underwater. He opens the valves in the wrong order. Instead of flushing out, the ocean comes roaring back in. The operator gets blasted with a geyser of seawater and everything he was trying to get rid of. But the flood does not stop at the floor. Directly beneath the toilet is the battery compartment, and seawater is now pouring down onto the batteries. Here is where a plumbing problem becomes a poison problem. When seawater hits these batteries, it produces chlorine gas. Chlorine, the same stuff you are warned never to make by mixing the wrong cleaners under your sink. Except now it is filling a sealed metal tube, underwater, with 50 men inside. The crew cannot breathe this and stay down, which leaves U-1206 with exactly one option. And it is the one option a submarine hiding off enemy coastline never, ever wants to take. Go up. U-1206 blows her tanks and claws to the surface, and a submarine on the surface, in daylight, off the coast of Britain in 1945, is not a submarine anymore. It is a target. It does not take long. British aircraft spot her almost immediately. This is a coastline the Royal Air Force watches constantly. A U-boat on the surface here has minutes, not hours, and they attack. The boat that spent its whole life sinking nothing is now getting bombed while it sits on the surface, poisoned by its own toilet. The attack does its work. U-1206 is damaged. She can no longer dive, and a U-boat that cannot dive is finished. So Kapitanleutnant Schlitt gives the order every submarine commander dreads. Abandon ship. Scuttle her. They sink their own boat on purpose, so the enemy cannot take her. The crew pours out into the North Sea, and this is the part where the joke stops. U-1206 goes to the bottom off Peterhead. First patrol. Only patrol. Total enemy ships sunk, still 0. But before we laugh at the submarine sunk by its toilet, we need to talk about what it cost, because it was not free. Around 50 men left Germany aboard U-1206. 46 were pulled from the water and captured. They spent the rest of the war, and the weeks after Germany surrendered, as prisoners. They made it. 4 did not come home. And it matters how those 4 were lost, because it was not the gas, and it was not the flooding. By the record, 1 man had already died of illness the day before the toilet ever failed. The other 3 drowned in heavy seas after they abandoned ship. They survived the gas, they survived the bombing, and the sea took them anyway. The war in Europe would be over in about 3 weeks. 4 men were gone, over a plumbing accident, at the very end of a war that was already lost. Keep that in mind through the rest of this. Okay, now, the part everyone gets wrong. If you have heard this story before, you have heard a specific version. The captain sat down, used the fancy toilet himself, flushed it, and personally sank his own submarine. It is a perfect story. The commander, undone by his own bathroom. The internet loves it. There is just one problem. That is not what happened. According to Schlitt's own official report, he was not even in the bathroom. He was back in the engine room, helping to repair a diesel engine when he was told there was a leak up forward. So here is the honest version. The captain did not flush the toilet. Someone else did. And a toilet did not sink a warship mid-battle either. The toilet forced them up, the aircraft did the damage, and the crew scuttled the boat themselves. A chain of events, not one legendary flush. And yet, strip away the myth, and the true version is still absurd. A brand new U-boat on its first patrol was lost because of its toilet. That part is completely real. It is already ridiculous exactly as it happened. Germany built a toilet so advanced it needed its own experts, and that toilet did more damage to this submarine than the entire Royal Navy ever managed. As for Schlitt himself, he survived the sinking, he survived captivity, and he reportedly went on to study law and public service after the war. And yes, his name really was Schlitt. It sounds close to a certain German slang word. That is a coincidence. History just has a sense of humor, and it does not always ask permission. So the next time you are having a bad day, remember U-1206, a submarine so advanced it needed trained toilet specialists that never sank a thing and was ultimately defeated by going to the bathroom. If you learn something ridiculous today, subscribe. It is free and it helps us keep digging up the true stories nobody believes. Because next time, another true story nobody believes. Another way to lose a war effort to your own side. I am glad you are here. See you then.